I have to begin by pointing out that it is not possible to convey the richness of my experience with words. It's a bit like trying to depict a magnificent sunset by drawing it in the sand with a stick. It was unique in other ways too. I had collapsed on my bed, either asleep or unconscious, but when I woke out of it, I knew it had not been any sort of dream. In fact, it was far more real than normal waking consciousness. This aspect is so hard to explain. I was left with the conviction that a much greater reality exists for us beyond this one. I had seen it, been in it. What had happened to me was real, I mean really real, as if normal life is just an illusion in which we are immersed for our time here. Since the advent of virtual reality, I have found that is a good way to think of this existence. This reality is a wondrous, awesome creation, and it has a purpose, but a far greater reality exists. I did not find myself looking down on my body, but of course, it was the middle of the night in a pitch-dark room. I had been shooting up amphetamines and narcotics for 2 days. Somehow I had made my way to bed and collapsed there, totally out of it. Hours later I became aware that I was somehow apart from my body, and I remember feeling with surprise and wonder that I had known the feeling before. It was before my life had begun, before I was born. I could feel my real self, and I recognized that I was the same self then and now. This was joyous. I was looking down on my life and seeing how unimportant all the hassles were. I could see life as though it were a game I had been playing, and how all the moves were just parts of the game. Another way to describe this is the feeling you have when you have been engrossed in a really good book for hours, and then you put the book aside and notice the world around you. You had forgotten where you were and what time of day it was because the story held all your attention. You take a deep breath and notice the real world, even as you reflect on what you have been reading. Well, life is sort of like the book, and having put it aside, I could see and reflect on the whole story. I could see every part of my life, every event and instance all at once. Although it seemed instantaneous, I knew that every moment was there. These days I might say that I downloaded my hard drive. At the time, I think I tried to describe it as a replay and fast forward. I know this is out of sync with other folks' accounts, but this is how it happened for me. I then found myself traveling down a tunnel. It didn't open up before me or draw me into it. I was just in it and really moving. I'm not sure how big it was. It seemed just big enough for me to travel through it. Although it felt like falling, there was no sense of up or down, just through. The tunnel was mostly dark, but I could sense the sides of it rushing past. I was facing forward the whole way through, if you can be said to face any way without a body. The practical part of me was looking ahead for obstacles on this exhilarating ride. The rest of me was thrilled by it. I tried to reach out to touch the sides, but I didn't have hands. Well, not hands that I could feel with anyway. Words are so inadequate. I remember thinking that I should feel worried about hurtling along like this, and at the same time realizing that only my body could get hurt by an impact, and I had left it behind. Actually, some of the modern special effects of the wormhole come pretty close to depicting the appearance of this tunnel, although without the extra dimensions of reality. It was a very quick journey. A light appeared up ahead. It was the end of the tunnel and I rushed into it. There was no sensation of slowing down or coming to a stop. I was just there. I didn't even think to look back. I was in a beautiful place. In everyday terms, it was like a radiant, joyous landscape on a summer afternoon, but it was so much more inexpressibly beautiful, serene, and delightful, with the most wonderful light pervading everything. Something like rolling hills with carpets of wildflowers. There were many other people there, and they were blissfully happy. I can't say how many a multitude will have to do. I was doing so much more than just seeing this, I was feeling it all with senses unimaginable. I knew these souls, they knew me. They radiated love and welcome. They were like family, and we rejoiced in our reunion. It was rapturous. Although we didn't have physical bodies, we still looked the same, just then a being of pure light appeared in the distance, and I watched as it moved slowly among us. As it came closer, I remember thinking that I would not have been able to look at it with my eyes. It was such an intense, beautiful white light. 100 times, 1,000 times brighter than the sun. I was drawn irresistibly towards this being. I don't mean unwillingly. I wanted nothing else but to go to it, fall into it, and be embraced by it. As I came closer, I was overwhelmed by the feeling of pure love and understanding which emanated from this wondrous entity. This was by far the most wonderful and powerful feeling of my experience. Nothing can describe it. This glorious, wonderful entity recognized me, understood every minute aspect of me, and poured love into me. The love was real and immeasurable. I never wanted to leave this divine presence, but somehow, without explanation, I was given to understand that I would have to go back, and I understood that this was good and right, and I woke up in my bed, in the dark, thoroughly blown away by what had just happened to me. I walked around the house saying that was no dream. It had been so real that waking life seemed like the dream for quite a while.